Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. So, we received additional intelligence about what occurred in Kiev over the last 24 hours. In fact, we are hearing now that it was not a Russian cruise missile attack upon Kiev. It was not a Russian drone attack upon Kiev. Apparently, Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian air defense personnel were smoking in a non-smoking area or near the Patriot missile battery, and one of the Ukrainian soldiers tossed a cigarette in an area that he wasn't supposed to toss a cigarette, which apparently led to the destruction of the Patriot missile battery, unfortunately. So we got to get those Ukrainian soldiers not to smoke near Patriot missile batteries. Additionally, we understand the Ukrainian counteroffensive is going to start in 15 seconds. We have very good word that in 13 seconds, the Ukrainian counteroffensive is going to start. 8 seconds away from the Ukrainian counteroffensive. 4, 3, 2, 1. Apparently, the Ukrainian counteroffensive has been paused. And once we get a new date and time of the planned Ukrainian counteroffensive, we will absolutely share it with you. And then again, back to our initial report about the Ukrainian soldiers smoking in Kiev near Patriot missile batteries. Definitely don't want to do that. Definitely do not want to smoke next to Patriot missile batteries. All right, all kidding aside, look, that's what that other guy does. And he gets, what does he have, like 600,000 views or 600,000 subscribers, something like that. It's interesting. Very interesting how that works. Anyway, I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. Maybe. If not, oh well. So again, as we had talked about yesterday, we continue to see these Russian missile strikes upon targets throughout Ukraine. We are seeing airfields being hit. We are seeing supply depots being hit. We are seeing targets in the city of Kiev being hit. We are seeing Patriot missile batteries being hit. We are seeing intelligence headquarters being hit by Russian forces. And again, a lot of this is not being discussed at all in the mainstream media. I mean, we have seen a significant up-tempo campaign over the last 48 hours by the Russians against targets throughout Ukraine. And essentially, the mainstream media here in the United States is silent. And the only real information, well, I don't want to say it's real information, the information we get from Ukraine is that, yes, Russia launched the largest kamikaze drone strike in the war thus far, and the Ukrainians shot down 100% of the drones. Yes, the Russians launched a massive cruise missile strike, and the Ukrainians shot down 100% of the cruise missiles. But that's not quite exactly what happened. So the Ukrainians aren't going to report it, and here in the mainstream media in the West, it's not being reported as well. So what I believe is happening is the Russians are targeting these munitions that are being brought in to Ukraine, and they're doing a fairly effective job at destroying these weapon systems that the West is handing over, that that NATO and the United States is bringing in for the Ukrainians. because again, the Ukrainians believed at least 2 months ago that an anticipated counteroffensive was going to start before the end of spring. Now we're heading into. I mean, we're going to be hitting June here in a day or two. What is it, tomorrow? So again, it's just the reporting on this conflict is just bad. It's just really, really bad. And then you look at even a lot of the content that's provided on social media, whatever you look at, YouTube, what have you. Again, a lot of what you see, a lot of what you hear is Slava Ukraine on an endless loop. There's not much substance to the coverage of the conflict. It's again a great propagandized effort to make it appear that the Ukrainians are winning the conflict. Now, I would say they have been able to thwart a lot of Russian objectives. A lot of Russian objectives have not been accomplished because of the Ukrainian military and because of the ongoing efforts by the United States and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to provide weapons and intelligence to the Ukrainian military. Okay? But at the same time, the Russians just in the last a couple of weeks have defeated the Ukrainian military near Bakhmut. They've seized control of Bakhmut. The Russians still maintain the land corridor from Russia proper to the Crimea. They still control vast areas of eastern Ukraine. And we anticipate that is going to be the status quo for some time until we see the Russians actually start to launch their own large-scale operations. So right now you're seeing the Russians prep and prepare the battlefield. We're seeing a lot of airstrikes, cruise missile strikes, drone strikes against Ukrainian targets. Now look, a lot of that is to prevent a possible Ukrainian counteroffensive. And thus far, the Ukrainians have yet to launch that counteroffensive. I mean, we've seen operations in the past, Kherson, fairly successful. That was essentially a Russian withdrawal, but nonetheless, they took control of large areas that the Russians controlled, including the city of Kherson. And then finally, the actual military operation east of Kharkiv, in which the Russians were forced to withdraw from this area highlighted in green. So there's been successes on both sides. There's been failures on both sides, and we anticipate we will continue to see this back and forth swing in the conflict. And again, additionally, as I talked about before, we believe the Russians are preparing for something fairly significant in the not too distant future. But they're not telegraphing it like what you're seeing from Ukraine right now. So that's kind of where we set for today. We will continue to watch. We will continue to report. More to come very, very soon. And as always, thanks for joining us. Have a good day.